I'd like to begin by thanking this committee for allowing us to stand here and speak. And we'd like to offer our deepest gratitude to Senator Manning and Senator Patton. They didn't just listen, they took our pain to heart through their compassion for Jameson.
Karen, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you just yeah.
Can't hear?
Yeah,
Sorry, I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
We'd like to offer our gratitude to Senator Manning and Senator Patton. They didn't just listen, they took our pain to heart through their compassion for Jameson and every family in Ohio into this critical legislation. We stand here for a second time listening to many of the same speakers, and much of our script has been covered. I'll let my husband read or go off script, but I just wanted to come up here and make a few comments. And Representative Williams, he's not here? Did he leave?
Yeah, he stepped up.
Okay, to the whole committee, but I wanted to speak to some of his questions. Bill 2945.39, which is the one he referenced, the law, okay. I wanted to just come up here and say, we don't want to face what will happen or what the next steps may be on February 20th. We'd like to, as the victims of the murder of our son, we'd like to just ask that this pass without any amendments. I'd love for Ohio to be the 24th state with no deadline. We are conceding to the 5-year deadline and hoping that this bill can be passed with each and every one of you thinking about it as if it were your loved one that was murdered. I'd like to address re-victimization. Re-victimization is waking up every single morning since July 4th to the reality that my son was murdered and that we have a defendant who knows the system and has gamed the system, has been addressed already on a misdemeanor. He voluntarily went and was injected and was restored. And when he's facing 13 felonies and the possibility of life without parole in the prison.
Times 4.
It's very easy to make choices to not medicate yourself. So I'm asking each and every one of you to not necessarily worry about what will happen after February 20th, but to move this bill forward without any amendments so that my family, my son's brother and sisters can get justice, because we all are re-victimized every single day of our lives. And to stand up here is not easy. To ask strangers to think about the law and the flaws that are in it, and all we're asking is for justice to be served so that he can be restored without any time frames or any deadlines that we always have to wake up every day and wonder, is he being medicated or is he not being medicated? Is he cheeking it? And what choices he gets to make on a daily basis while in a facility, and we have no choices. We are stuck with a decision he made to kill our son.
Good morning and thank you. First thing, I just want to tell you a little story. I woke up this morning, went to put on my suit, and I'm like, man, these pants feel a little tight. And I'm like, these are like skinny pants. I knew I lost a little weight, but I inadvertently grabbed my son's, Jameson's suit, which was hanging in my closet, and I'm actually wearing it today, even though it doesn't fit. But he apparently wanted to be here, so I'm representing him. I just want to tell everyone here, we aren't lawyers, we aren't lawmakers, okay? My wife and I'm a police officer, 25 years, testified in thousands of trials. My wife is a court reporter, 35 years. We are very well-versed in the legal system and the processes that happen there. I'm going to pretty much specifically address our case as we traversed through it, which will bring up the points of and the importance of this bill. Number one, it sets a timeline of 14 days, okay? Even though there's a court order that says you'll report to the court if he refuses, they didn't. I mean, if you told your child to do something and they waited 5 months, that's not a reasonable response, right? So why they waited 5 months is shocking. Shocking to us, shocking to the prosecution, but most importantly, it was shocking to the judge, because she was shocked at that fact. And I think everybody in here should be shocked at that fact. Number two, as far as the 5-year time limit, this particular law is going to cover a small fraction of cases. The opponents in this case, I listened to it, I watched it live. They all said it's going to clog the system, people aren't going to be treated. That's simply not true. Very, very, very small percentage of people are going to actually, this 5-year timeline will actually apply to. But the small percentage of people that it applies to, their victims and their families are going to be very grateful for that, because they are going to have the opportunity to get justice. You just have to bear with me, because when you go third or fourth, everybody steals your thunder. So in our case, specifically, there were systemic failures and bureaucratic failures within the system from COBH. These reports that they were due every 6 months, they didn't come in 6 months. They came 2 weeks late, 3 weeks late. The refusal was never reported. Doctors came in and testified to things that weren't in the report that were directly opposite of some of the things that may have happened. There was an allegation of illegal drug use within the facility, which to me was very serious, which they never even reported to the court for 3-4 months. And they never called the police agency to investigate it. And they never investigated it with their in-house police department for a month. And then they talked to the guy who's incompetent and asked him what happened. I mean, these are, we come to you as victims. We come to you as the real people in that we don't know the law, but we live it. So the decisions that are made here are decisions that filter down to your constituents. And they're the ones that deal with the ramifications of the things that happen in this room. So I ask you all, as I'm getting ready to close, first of all, 5 years, human life. 5 years, your son, your daughter, your loved one is murdered. 5 years is a small time, okay? There's a lot of debate going back and forth, which happens in these committees. We are fully aware, I mean, obviously we're living it under the current system. He refused to take his medication, we have court hearings. This happens, we have more court hearings. If he's not found competent, we have more court hearings. If this law passes, we have more court hearings, right? It's going to be a battle. It shouldn't be. That's what we're trying to get to everybody. We are never going to have answers. We are never going to be able to close the book on this. I am 61 years old, and I could probably guarantee you I will not close the the cover on this book in my lifetime. It will probably still be going on. The defendant in this case has five lawyers, and every time I've been to court, they're underneath the kitchen sink throwing everything out against the wall, right? Because they know in the end, if he's found competent, it's kind of a, not to get too far into it, it's on video. There's no disputing what happened, okay? So, when you're looking at a misdemeanor charge, and you know that if I go and take a couple of shots, I'm gonna get this case tossed out no matter what, right? It's a misdemeanor, we all know that. That's what happens in today's world. But if I'm facing 4 murder counts, 4 life sentences, while I'm incarcerated, I may not take my medication. I may have an Academy performance, right? Academy Award-winning performance of, I see whatever, and have delusions or feigning it or malingering it. What this bill is going to do is going to be a deterrent from this process that's happening to us from happening in the future. So kind of the importance of this being passed in a judicious or expeditious manner is that it will give us at least a little bit of some relief knowing that this passed. It will probably stand up to a legal muster, and it will be fought, I'm sure. But either way, we are going to be in court for the rest of our natural-born lives, my wife and I and my family, fighting this case. And that is not right. Recent cases in Ohio, people have been restored in a timely fashion as they should, and they've already been convicted, and they're already in prison. In our case, we are 16 months out, and we are just learning at some points whether or not he's even taken his medication. We went to a hearing in September, and we didn't know if he was being injected with medications or he was taking it orally. And that was after 1 year. And that was after 4 months of complete silence from September until the end of January from the facility where he was supposedly treated by some doctor who has never appeared in court. His records have never appeared in court. I don't even know if the guy exists. So those are our struggles. This law is going to tighten everything up, and it's going to make it easier for the victims so that they can hopefully try to move on as best they can. So what we're asking you to do is to pass this bill as soon as you can by February 20th with all the provisions that are in place so that justice may prevail.
Mr. and Mrs. Ritter, thank you for your testimony, and I'd like to offer my condolences on the tragic loss of your son. And are there any questions for the witness? Representative Piccolo Antonio with a question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mrs. Ritter, Officer Ritter, for coming back to this committee. I am a mom. I will not pretend in any way to understand what you've gone through and what it must feel like to sit in a room like this where we're all talking in the abstract and you're talking about your son. I will not pretend to understand that. And as I said to you the last time that you were here, and I will say it again to you, the chair has said it, I am just deeply sorry for what you've all had to go through. The question that I was asking of the prosecutor, I think that I heard an answer from you. My concern was about what it would feel like for you in a scenario where we pass the law, where competency is restored, where the outcome that is clear happens, what it would feel like if a court then said, this is unconstitutional, it cannot be applied retroactively to this situation. And I think that you've answered that question, but if there's anything else that you want to add to that, that is my only question.
I think I did answer it. The re-victimization is daily, 24/7. So if we have to stand before a judge and have her say that it doesn't apply, then that's a chance we need to take in the courtroom. We're asking this committee to make 0 amendments and allow for this to pass by the deadline, and then let the justice system make the decisions moving forward. But your job is to see this get through the committee expeditiously so that we are not standing here as victims begging for a committee to become no longer an outlier. Because as I said, I think this state should move it to what the other 23 states have, which is an unlimited time. But we are accepting a 5-year, and we're asking that you move this forward on a 5-year time frame, in fairness to all the victims in Ohio that are waiting for a restoration period right now. And we do appreciate your time, and I'm disappointed I wasn't able to speak to Representative Williams directly.
Just briefly, I just said, I'm prepared to spend the rest of my natural-born life fighting this in court because I would get justice for my son, and that realistically, I can tell you based on our year experience in court and the tactics I've seen, that is exactly what's going to happen. So we are prepared for that.
Follow-up? No. Representative Matthews with a question.
Thank you, Chair. And I wanted to kind of follow up on my colleagues' comments there and yours. I believe this is a good, narrowly tailored way. It's thoughtful. I do not think that this is an ex post facto type of constitutional challenge. Those are for when you're changing the elements of the crime, which this isn't doing, the level of punishment of the crime, which this isn't doing. I would believe the way that this is tailored would be analogous to saying, here's a different way of even testing for competence, or here's a different way of how you're handled while you're going through jail or being imprisoned. It isn't an ex post facto change of what the state of the law or the state of the facts, that anyone that's going around trying to comply with the law or knows what the punishments of the law would be. And I believe for your question or any comment to that of, I'm sorry that you're having to go through this continuously. I believe we should do this thoughtfully. We're spending time now. I'm grateful for the rest of my colleagues that are sitting, making sure that we're going through this line by line so that this doesn't happen again, so that the court is set up so that those that aren't, that you can't game the system by harming yourself as well, and making that somewhat rational judgment, but not really, of avoiding jail time by not being competent. And I believe that moving this forward within these next 8 days is something that we should be doing, and I want to thank you for your service that continues through this. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Any other questions to the witnesses? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.